South by Southwest Interactive Conference brings together cutting-edge technologies and top-notch reporters and bloggers in the industry to discuss the future of emerging technology.
With a website, there's a lot of things you do at the front end to make sure the website is secure. We talked about things like firewalls and good password encryption and things of that nature, but on an ongoing basis, you also want to make sure that there aren't new vulnerabilities or new threats that are introduced or emerging. So things, as you know, there are always new patches available for operating systems. You need to make sure you're patched on an ongoing basis. That means on a monthly basis that you're checking your operating system and the entire software stack to make sure that stays patched. And then also keeping the virus signatures up to date, keeping the firewall rules up to date, and then I think that the sort of the icing on the cake would be to do sort of a vulnerability scan from an outside perspective. A lot of times there are threats that you don't even know might be out there, or vulnerabilities that are on your site that you might not know about, and a good vulnerability assessment should be able to detect those. So whenever I talk to big companies and I recommend the infrastructure that a company needs, oftentimes the idea of cloud computing comes up. And for those who don't know what cloud is essentially a service that you can consume over the internet. It's a big group of servers, large scale server infrastructure that you can pay for as you go. So if your site is small, you pay for a little bit of cloud services to run your website. If your site gets big, you can add more and pay as you grow. So for a lot of companies, the cloud is enticing because it means that I only pay for what I use. The downside is the cloud is sort of an emerging set of technologies, and it's not one size fits all, and there isn't sort of a magic cloud solution that works for everything. So what I recommend to large companies is sort of take it slow when it comes to the cloud. Dip your toe in, make sure that you feel comfortable with the technology, have somebody who really knows security look at your site and see if it's appropriate for the cloud. If it is, by all means, take advantage of it. If it's not, and your site is really high profile or has a lot of risk associated with a failure or somebody actually taking advantage and getting into that website, I think there you might want to look at more traditional hardened security technology like a dedicated firewall, like dedicated servers, like intrusion detection systems, more of the traditional tried and true and tested solutions. But I think there's also the opportunity to mix and match those whenever it makes sense. So it's not an all or nothing thing. You can really use the cloud where it makes sense and use the traditional physical infrastructure where it makes sense. I think that there are misconceptions around security all over the place. I think some people believe that the internet, is insecure by nature. Those are the people that won't put their credit card in. I think at the other end of the spectrum, you have people that don't even think twice about security when they're on the internet. And the right answer is somewhere in between. I think that security, a website with good security is, somebody who's taken the time to layer their security defenses. They probably have firewall technology, they probably have good software security technology, and they have good best practices around how they manage it. I think reputable companies do it that way. I think the fly-by-night companies don't take those precautions, and those are sometimes hard to figure out which are which. But look for secure transactions when you're doing business on the web. Look for logos that you recognize from reputable security companies. Make sure the company you're doing business with is somebody that doesn't have a bad reputation. Do a little bit of research before you take that step and put your credit card in. Those are sort of the best practices, I would say. I think generally speaking, the internet is getting better in terms of security, but there's always a smart hacker out there that's trying to take advantage of those same companies. So, keep an eye on your credit card statements. Look for any odd transactions. Make sure that you look again for those high-profile logos, and just be careful.